if you don't know about now, I like to drop obscure 80s and 90s sci-fi references. It drives my team crazy, but work with me. So I'm here to actually share observations and where we see AI going or what are the opportunities possible. And when we think about AI, we look at it in a more simplified three-layer. And by we, it's sort of how we here at Tencent explore that. And just to give a background, Tencent is one of the largest tech companies from Asia, with the largest publicly traded company in China, internet companies. And so we're massive in gaming, and also we're behind the super app WeChat, and also in advertising and other series. And one of our business units, which I head up here in North America, is cloud, and I'm with the Tencent Cloud. And when we look at where we're going AI, we look at it as, of course, three layers. In the infrastructure, that's obviously GPU, but more than that, with storage and memory, because the associated infrastructure that's necessary to run the models and the AI computing that's really booming in the market today. And of course, you have the models, and there's also constant marathon, if you will, of models being released and being improved. But I think where we are now is at the agent level, right? We quickly went through these, and now we're looking at what's possible with agents. And then with that, the question was, does scaling law still apply, right? If you apply more infrastructure and more data, does agent become better? And we believe so. However, with the qualification that the data needs to be good. It's not just any data, the quality of data matters in driving that forward. So someone earlier mentioned OpenClaw, and last November when the OpenClaw came to be, it was quite a sensation in China and then for the rest of the world as well. And I think as Tencent, we really embraced that. And even as a tech company, the pace of us embracing Claw and also agent workflows inside our system is something unprecedented as well. And so, because we saw the value of it. So we very quickly developed tools to service our customers. So I mentioned WeChat. It's used by about 1.6 billion people on the daily active user count. And we adopted cloud bots that could work with the chat softwares. WeCom is our enterprise, one of the leading ones in China. We also added agentic tools, cloud tools around those. And similarly, we added a lot of these agents from WorkBuddy that's comparable to ChatGPT, to QCloud, which is our implementation of OpenClaw, to implement not just internally, but also for our client, but even throughout our entire ecosystem. So in Asia, the OpenClaw is fondly referred to as the lobster ecosystem. And within a span of a year, we're seeing that even internally, over 90% of the codes are now written by large language models using our own tool, CodeBuddy, and we're seeing that being adopted. And one of the things is that Tencent is a very prolific investor, right? We're investing in Epic, we are investing in Riot, in Uber, and a lot of startups in Europe and in South America, Latin Asia. And what we're also seeing that across the board in the startups that we work with is that they're quickly adopting using AI to help with coding and to iterate faster and faster. And so that's one area of looking at how AI is transforming internal processes. Just today alone, I think I saw an internal notice that we have 2 sales tools that dropped for sales team to be able to use to better manage leads and also to manage research and profile customers from different teams within the ecosystem. So it's happening at a really breakneck speed that we haven't seen before. But the impact, the second observation here is that the impact is really driven by quality of data. As we work with startups and actual enterprises, one of the common organizations that are coming to us and asking is, well, what should be their AI strategy? How could they leverage AI to be more productive, to get more customers? And a lot of barriers actually is not the model itself. It's not the GPU. It's actually their internal processes that they have to define very clearly, and also their internal knowledge base. If you don't have that well structured and create a workflow, you're not going to get the impact that you're looking for. At least that's the observation we see and the ones we work with the customer. Now, maybe there's an opportunity here for someone to create some AI agent that able to actually do the consultant's work and go in and actually help them clean all that up. But until that day, in the meantime, this process will be something that for someone to implement the AI process agents to improve the organizational productivity or increase, will have to improve upon. And as a result of the implementation, what you'll probably talk about later is the explosion of tokens. And that's the usage of token, even internally, in our organization has just exploded because we're using that to code. And we're also seeing that the game studios and developers are using that extensively. In one of the conferences I was part of, we have folks that mentioned that they're not even doing that much code review anymore. So when they run the code and it doesn't work, instead of finding bugs, they just run it again and then run it again until it works. Because as cost per token goes down and faster, it's actually easier and cheaper to just run these codes. And so therefore the token counts are just kind of going up. And that's actually created a lot of opportunities. So Open Router being a token marketplace, I believe that there are offers out there for billions of dollars of acquisition proposals. They are FAO and many other marketplaces are emerging. Now, what will the final state look like? We don't know, but the ability to market and sell these AI computing outputs creates an opportunity in itself. It makes intelligence a marketplace that you could buy and sell and do. Now, usually people look at these explosion chart and kind of wonder when you actually get there. And I guess I like to think back to the time when something as transformational, as exciting as this was probably when the dot-com boom was happening. And if you look at the bandwidth for internet in the year 2000, I believe the entire world's internet was around 20 gigabits of international bandwidth. Now it's actually expanded by something like 100,000 times. Right? Back then, when you were building website pages, you would try to be efficient and make sure the website loads really quickly and light. And now the bandwidth available now, so I kind of compare that across the board that we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. We believe that as we incorporate more usage across the board, that the usage will go up exponentially. And just anecdotally, right? Well, one of my friend runs a immigration law firm, and he's not tech savvy. He's done it for 20-some years, and the most advanced technology he has a website that gathers leads. But he's now using AI tools to help him review contracts, formulate documents, and he's able to actually increase output by 5 to 6x. And this is, and he has attended conferences of attorneys who are also using similar services. So that has two impacts. One is that he's taking a project that he couldn't do at his size before. But secondly, he's being told that some clients are now expecting that for billable hours, they expect that this should have been done by AI. They're not paying 20 hours at $150 an hour to review that document. They believe that you should have been able to do that for 2 hours using AI and manual review. So it's also driving the economics differently across the board. Similarly, I think a game studio we talked to mentioned that even a side project, some project that was modeled for a 5-man team for 3 months, someone did it over the weekend as a hobby, and I was able to deliver the project because they were bored. So access to using a token and use of AI is transforming the workplace, and there's finding ways to continue to use that. The next observation is that so far we do not have the one model to rule them all, right? That there are different models that does different things based on different economics and different capabilities. Some are better at coding, some are better at reasoning. Some are even better at generating images. And here at Tencent, we are ones that's really good at 3D. Well, one really good at, you'll see in the back, creating a 3D world. Sort of expect this since we're very big in the gaming space. We have a lot of tools and capabilities around game production. And so the startups that we work with and the companies we work with are embracing a multimodal approach. That they're not building around one, because there's constant improvement to different models, that they're building their tools, their agents to be able to use different models and the best of breed based on economics and based on what they want to do, and ability to seamless switch and to create integrated experiences for the individual. So the ability to optimize on that is also creating an opportunity, I think, for a startup to really look at and to create real value for the customers. And the next portion we're seeing down here is that the contexts are getting longer and longer and bigger and bigger. And that actually makes it more expensive and heavy for AI models to process. So there remains to be plenty of rooms to optimize AI for your end users, optimize the final experience. In our case, that we're beginning to see ways that we can break up context in memories, develop different skills in storing different places, and then execute and flow by combining those to create a better output. So the way you optimize, even if you're using the same model, you can get vastly different answers. And so there's, from a sort of a startup and opportunity point of view, the way you create and optimize the delivery of the AI is also presents enormous opportunities out there. And finally, I think this is, I hope this would truly come true, that it is our belief that the interface will eventually become a chat or voice recognized interface. As a user becomes, the models become more intelligent and easier to use, all the interfaces will be voice-based. And we're seeing that actually across the board, at least in the user experiences from our own apps and so forth, that they like to have the answers and output right back to them, and they like the input to be given to them. And so I guess the idea here is that one of the biggest pain for my business development team is updating any type of content CRM system or filling out any forms. So if they could just verbally speak and summarize the meeting they just had or the conversation they just had into AI and actually then update to the system, then it will make the adoption much quicker and faster. So the idea that, or if I need to request a new laptop, from my internal AI team, I can just make that request verbally and have them follow up with all the details they need from me. So we do believe that chatbots are evolving and eventually become a primary user interface. And as a pet peeve, I like to watch sports. And the fragmentation of these team sports events, sometimes Friday nights on Apple, and some are on Peacock streaming, and then the rest of our local streaming platform. I saw my TV, I tell my TV that I want to watch, well, I'm from LA, so I want to watch Dodgers, don't believe me. Okay. That it will just find out where it's streaming at today and pull it right up. And I tell them that I want, I'm behind by 2 hours, do not give me the score, just play back from the beginning and skip the commercials. So here is the way I pay the bills. So I want to talk a little about what Tencent could do, right? We do believe that we could be a trusted AI partner for all of you with a variety of services that we can offer. Obviously, with CodeBuddy, you could access a variety of leading open source tokens as well as closed source tokens at a very cost competitive way through our coding platform, CodeBuddy. But we also have Digital Human, which is an AI GC video. Now, if What we're seeing is in the large, very large global retail spaces using our digital human to create training videos of customers and on the questions they might ask, and then training them to their sales to watch and then to answer. So they're creating model sales that they can emulate and simulate a customer to engage with them for experience. So, with different product release different seasons, it actually becomes a really good way to create training videos on how to sell the product, how to promote the product. And again, I think that the simulated interfaces, when you think about the spectrum of things that you have to go through, I'm still behind on a couple hours of compliance training on HR that I need to finish. If it can be done in a fun, interactive way, I think I would have finished it much quicker. And of course, actually, we actually lead in Palm AI. We are Palm detection scanning algorithm is one of the world's leading ones. And finally, we have H1 pages, which in the maker that you will learn more about in the back. And then fundamentally, we just have the core cloud infrastructure that can support your needs across the board. We're strong, obviously, advocate of a multi-cloud approach. As you're building your startup app or agent, do consider that what we're telling the startup that we work with or in the Tencent ecosystem is to embrace multi-cloud. There's a certain idea that it might be easier because you might be working on one cloud right now and you're moving really quickly, and we see that with game studios because they need to make the deadline. But what they end up paying for later is that the inflexibility or the re-engineering costs will have to up and lift. So being designed with multi-cloud in advance really sort of engineer it right once and gives you the flexibility. And also the data sovereignty issues that's popping up throughout the world makes it easy for you to go global. And Tencent is global, but you can see that Asia being a sweet spot. But we also continue to add capabilities in South America, in North America as well, and of course across the board in Europe and throughout Asia. So we have the footprint and the breadth and depth of solutions to really help companies and startups, organizations to grow. And so, so we work very closely with Prosus. Prosus is a Holland-based investment arm. They're the largest shareholder of Tencent. Fine Antidote, they used to be a newspaper in South Africa who, for some reason, decided to invest $20 million in Tencent in the very beginning, and that has turned around to be around $300 billion at its peak. So it's considered one of the most successful investment story of all time, and now they're replicating it to hundreds of actually startups and investment across Europe and Latam and Asia. And EMAG is one of them. We support them. They're a very popular marketplace in Eastern Europe. They hate it when I call them the quick list of Eastern Europe, but and also our scan technology in Hong Kong, and of course we work with fintechs throughout the EMEA space. And that's all the observation I can share and the pitches I'm going to do today. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for being here today. Hope you enjoyed it.